Hi, my name is Gretchen Quatra, and I work for WNS in Mumbai, India. I'm a voice and accent trainer. Today, I want to talk to you about stress management, which I think is a very important skill to have, especially during this difficult time when we're all kind of stuck in our houses due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And I know it hasn't been easy. But I think stress, we all deal with daily stress in our lives. And so what I want to do now is to just first start off with a story of my own, a personal story of my own from one of my experiences. And that is, it was in April 2008. It's a day I'll never forget. It was a Saturday afternoon. And I had finished all of my weekend errands and my chores, and so I went to lay down to take a nap. And an hour later, I woke up covered in red, itchy hives. And as the afternoon turned into evening, the hives increased all over my body, and I started to feel like I had a lump in my throat. I didn't realize then that if you have trouble swallowing, that's a very bad thing with a reaction like this. So yeah, I felt like I had something I had to keep clearing in my throat all the time, and it wasn't clearing. It wouldn't go away. My husband decided to call a friend of ours who was a doctor. After hearing my symptoms, she instructed me to immediately go to urgent care or emergency room because I was having a severe allergic reaction. Which I was like, what? Because as a young child, I did have allergies to quite a few things, but I had long since grown out of them. And as an adult, I never had an allergic reaction to anything as an adult. So, as to what I was reacting to, I had no idea. So when we reached the emergency room, they took my vitals. And the doctor asked me some questions, and one of the main questions he asked was I dealing with any stress? And I was sure I was. Of course I am, because everybody is. That's just life. Everybody deals with stress, right? I felt like I didn't have anything any harder than anybody else, so to me it was just a normal thing. Wasn't everybody? You know? A few years before that, my husband had injured his shoulder on the job. It was a permanent injury, and he actually had to leave that profession because he could no longer do it. It was too painful for him. So that was a hard decision. And he was still dealing with some of the pain from that injury as well. And he was dealing with some present job stress at the time at the present job he was working at. And I also was working full-time and trying to keep up with the chores and errands. But I didn't, to me, I was like, well, that's everybody. Everybody has to deal with that. I don't have it any worse than anybody else, so this is just normal. The doctor still kept probing. Are you sure you're not dealing with, anything stressful? He sensed something, So they gave me an echocardiogram. In the US, they call that an EKG. It measures your heartbeat, your heart rate. And I realized that my heart was beating irregularly. That was a little scary. And then that was my wake-up call. And I realized I could no longer, the way that I was dealing with stress was obviously not very healthy, because here I am, covered in hives and regular heartbeat. And so let me just start by saying that stress in itself, it's not a bad thing. We're all equipped with a fight or flight response, and it helped us during those decades, centuries ago, when we were faced with a hungry saber-toothed tiger that we had to run away from or fight and get the upper hand. And what happens during your fight or flight response is your brain releases a stress hormone called cortisol, and that causes your heart rate to increase. Your breath becomes rapid and shallow, and your muscles tense up. And nowadays, everybody, the threats are different, but the reaction is still the same. Only now we're dealing with job responsibilities and job performance and financial concerns. That's a big thing with everybody. Maybe someone we love has been diagnosed with a disease, or a global lockdown in response to a pandemic, which is something I don't make light of, but yes, that is very, very stressful. And so the part of your brain that releases the stress hormone cortisol, that is it's your hypothalamus. That's part of your brain that starts the ball rolling. And then your central nervous system then also comes into play. And extra blood flow, blood is rushed to your heart, muscles, and other vital organs, and gets you ready for that fight or flight response, whether you want to run or you want to fight the threat. Normally, your central nervous system should return to normal after the threat is passed. And about 10 or 15 minutes after everything has happened, everything should be normal. However, if the threat is ongoing, if the threat doesn't go away, or if for whatever reason your response just lingers and you're still feeling the stress even after it's long gone, this is when it backfires. And this is called chronic stress. And chronic stress is bad news. Those elevated stress hormones remain in your system, and this can be hazardous to your health, and mentally and physically. And at this point, you will start feeling negative symptoms, physical and mental, such as fatigue, lack of motivation. You just don't care about doing anything that you used to enjoy before. Anxiety, headaches, sometimes migraines even, irritability, you're just quick to get angry at things, insomnia, and even depression. And you can also be prone to overeating or undereating. I know sometimes during some stressful situations, I crave every single carb-loaded thing I can get my hands on. Usually that's chocolate, but that tends to be how I respond, and it's a common stress response, but it's not healthy if you eat too much of that. And I've also experienced the other end of that too, where I haven't wanted to eat at all. So it's both things can happen. It just depends. Social withdrawal. You don't feel like spending time with your family or friends. And even worse, you could start abusing drugs or alcohol. And yeah, these are all very, very hazardous and just not good for you physically or mentally. Your respiratory system is also affected as well, with your shallow breathing, the elevated breathing, and your heart rate. So if you have an existing condition such as asthma or emphysema or COPD, these will definitely worsen if your stress is not kept in check. And because your heart also works a lot harder for longer periods of time under chronic stress, this can lead to high blood pressure and even a stroke or a heart attack. In addition, your liver will produce extra blood sugar, what we know as glucose, which can cause type 2 diabetes because your body can't effectively keep up with those extra levels. So if you, diabetes, especially type 2 diabetes, that is just a major issue in US and in India and pretty much all over the world. So that's also something you want to avoid. So if stress is an issue in your life, definitely for that reason, if not for that reason alone, keep your stress in check as well. Stress can also disrupt your digestive system, and you can experience indigestion, heartburn, acid reflux, In my college days, whenever I had an exam coming up, I used to vomit. I used to, nauseous. I used to be very stressed with exams. And so, stress can also develop those symptoms, nausea, vomiting, and even stomach pains. Also, because your muscles are tensed up during your response, your fight or flight response. If you're active, if you're physically active, if you work out a lot, exercise a lot, you can, this makes you more susceptible to muscle pulls and strains, and which unfortunately will sideline you from any other physical activity. And which is unfortunate, because exercise and physical activity is a wonderful, healthy way to deal with stress. And if you're not able to do those things, then that can just, it's sort of a double whammy. So at the very worst, also, you can get permanent injury as well if you injure yourself, if your muscles are injured. And so it's important to be very careful when you're exercising during stressful times. Make sure to warm up. So while proper stress response, when you're faced with that threat, and then that threat goes away, and then you're fine afterwards, it can actually stimulate your immune system, which is a healthy response. It can, which promotes healing and wards off any kind of infections. So any wounds you might sustain while fighting or however, it heals those quickly. And then you don't catch infections so easily. However, if you have chronic stress and that response lingers and those hormones linger, it can actually weaken your immune system over time, and then you will be more susceptible to viral infections such as cold or flu, any kind of illnesses, and it will take you longer to recover from those illnesses when you are infected with them. And probably one of the most important things, and something I need to mention, but I won't go into much detail over, is prolonged stress can affect sexual desire and performance, and even reproductive health. And I don't think we really need to get into detail with that. I think we all know how that can be affected. With women and their reproductive health, it can cause disruptions in their menstrual cycle. They may be irregular or just be they may be more painful. So stress is definitely a big player in that. And so obviously there is definitely a mind-body connection with stress. So, sometimes when you're going through stress, you think, I feel fine, I don't feel anything, it's not hurting me, I don't feel bad physically. But it's not something that will hit you right away. It takes a toll, and then eventually you wake up one day and you have a lot of things wrong with you, and then you realize this, it's a gradual thing. And so it is mind and body. It just doesn't happen immediately like what happened with me. My immune system just went haywire, and then I just had a reaction to something that I still to this day don't know what it was. And my heart beating irregularly was also very scary. So it was time to do something. And so now that we know all of the negative repercussions of stress and what stress can do to your body that harms it, so what do we do? How do we deal with the stress? How do we reduce stress? First of all, you can't reduce what happens. You can't control what happens. You can't reduce the things that are stressing you out. Most of the time, there's just no way you can. So, but you can control how you respond to it. And so, how can you do that? The question is, how do you do that? And as mentioned earlier, physical activity and exercise is a great way. It's a wonderful and healthy way to deal with stressful situations. And even when you're tempted to binge eat on something or stress eat over something, exercise instead, and that will help with that problem. And will keep your hormones at bay, the stress hormones. You, in addition to that, try relaxation techniques such as yoga, meditation, breathing exercises, deep breathing exercises to regulate your breathing, massage. A sense of humor is very important if you're dealing with something very, very stressful. So it's always a good idea to watch a funny movie or a funny sitcom or funny variety show or stand-up comedy, anything that gets you laughing, because laughter is the best medicine. And I don't remember the exact numbers, but a child laughs, I don't remember, but it's a lot. They laugh a lot during the course of their day. But as you grow into adulthood, that drastically reduces, and sometimes you don't laugh at all on some days. And that's sad. No pun intended. But I think that it's important to laugh. So good. It's always good to keep a sense of humor and watch some funny shows. Spend time with family and friends. And now that we're kind of stuck inside the house, we have that opportunity. So it's a good idea to make the most of it and appreciate who you have in your life and who you have around. Take time for your hobbies as well. This is another perfect opportunity for that. If you like to paint or draw, read a book, listen to music, sing. That's what I enjoy doing. I like to sing. I also like to paint and draw as well. So I mentioned that it's important to watch funny TV shows, which it most certainly is. However, if you're just sitting and watching mindless TV all the time for hours on end, and it's basically what you spend your whole day doing, or you're surfing the internet or on social media looking at everybody's posts, it's easy to kind of think that everybody has a better life than you know. Or if you're just doing computer gaming, at first those can be seem relaxing because it kind of numbs your brain out and you just kind of don't have to think about what's going on. They actually will make your stress worse in the end, and your mental state will continue to deteriorate if you keep up with those activities. So take care of your body. Take care of your health. Get plenty of sleep, eat healthy, balanced meals, avoid tobacco, and reduce your caffeine and alcohol intake. And I know we all have our vices. You know, we need that cup of coffee, we need that cigarette, and it temporarily relieves your stress, but in the long run, it can just make it worse once it wears off. So, at the very least, you reduce your intake. You may not be able to completely stop. If you can, wonderful, that's great. But just start by reducing a little bit at a time. Now, what happens if you've done all of these things? You've done everything I've described above, and yet you're still feeling a lot of the negative repercussions. Maybe you're feeling anxiety or depression or a lot of those not so fun things. And in that case, then you want to visit your doctor, who can check for other conditions that you might have. Sometimes an underactive thyroid, a low thyroid can cause some similar things. Or it could possibly be clinical depression or something else, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. Unfortunately, yet fortunately, I think it's increasing, and that's unfortunate. However, people coming forward and talking about mental and emotional issues such as depression and anxiety, I think that's a good thing. because I think it's easy. I know in the past there's been a big stigma around that, but I think it's very important to, maybe you may not be ready to announce it to the world, but at least tell somebody you trust. Because if you don't tell anyone and if you don't address it, it's not going to go away. So in that sense, if that is what the doctor has diagnosed in you, or if you feel that that's what you have, definitely talk to a counselor or therapist. Don't hesitate. They can help you to give you tools to help with your stress management and whatever thinking patterns you have that are contributing to your conditions. And it's very important to get yourself help. So, back to my story. How am I doing with stress management? I wish I could tell you I was doing better, that I'm doing better. As a matter of fact, when I took up this topic, I felt like I wasn't qualified for it. Because I more often than not, I don't deal with it very well. You learn techniques and you get into the habit of them. I know meditation. Meditation has helped me a lot. So I know better. But you just fall out of the habit of it and you just kind of get caught up in stuff. You get caught up in the rat race with everybody's knee-jerk reactions and everything, and then you start acting that way, and it's not good. Those healthy things fall by the wayside. And so I do have my good days and I have my not so good days. And I know with this lockdown, there have been days where I'm not very proud of the way I reacted in certain things. And we're all dealing with we're all dealing with this right now. And we all need to work on controlling our knee-jerk reactions and to avoid saying and doing things that we would regret afterwards. And what we need to do is just keep a positive mindset. And I'm a firm believer in what you think about, you bring about. So if you focus on what you don't have, if you focus on the things that are stressing you out, this is happening and that is happening. This whole pandemic. I don't have this. I can't do this. If you keep focusing on that, you're going to bring more of those situations into your life. You're going to bring more of what you don't want. You're going to bring more of stuff that you can't do. Just more of it's going to happen. And I don't know if you ever notice, if you, as your day starts out and something goes wrong, and you get worked up about it, and you're just like, I can't believe this. Oh my God, I can't believe this happened. Why did this happen? And it's just so inconvenient. You ever notice that more and more inconvenient things happen during the rest of the day when you get worked up about something like that? I do, and it's happened to me. So if you get worked up about something, plan on having more of that happen, because that's how your mind frame, your thinking is, because you're focusing on what you didn't want but happened. So now more of that is happening. Instead, focus on what you do want. Focus on the day that things return back to normal, that we all go back to our normal lives and go back to those things that are worth going back to. Nothing destructive like I think we used to do. Focus on what you want for the world. You want people to be healed from this COVID-19. You want people to recover from it. You want us to develop a cure for it. You want the disease to just be completely eradicated. And then no more. That's certainly what I want. I want everyone to be healthy, everyone to just be happy, and things to, everyone be productive again. Focus on what you do want. You focus on yourself being happy and having these things, and just focus on how you feel when you have them. It's not just getting what you want, but it's focusing on how you feel when you have them. Imagine how you would feel once you have what you want. And you will attract more of what you want. And I do believe that. So, I don't know about you, but I don't want to attract any more negative stuff in my life. So, I do my best to focus on this, and it is a challenge sometimes. But what little time, I do my best and I see results, so it's worth it to me. So that's one way to also deal with stressful situations, is to just focus on, okay, this happened, but let me just continue to focus on what I do want. And that, along with the other management techniques that I talked to you about, will certainly help you a lot. And one other thing I'm thankful for, I'm thankful for my husband, first of all. I'm thankful for my family, and I just have so many things to be thankful for right now. I'm thankful for my health. And I'm also thankful to be working for an amazing company, W&S, and I pledge to enable. Thank you very much. Stay safe.